How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Ganji. Welcome to another episode of Chair Talk Coast. So, guys, we're going to revisit the case of Nolan Xavier Wells. We have a lot to cover. There's a lot of updates that came out. So, we're going to talk about what happened on Good Morning America today with the family, the press conference with Sharpton and Crump. Best friend Javon Williams was interviewed on TMZ. We got to cover that. We got some more information about Katie, what she said, and that was the girl that he had met on the island. Looks like Tyler Perry and Colin Kaepernick are providing funding. I think Colin is doing the independent autopsy, paying for the autopsy to be done, flying out to Washington, D.C., and then Tyler Perry is looking to cover the funeral cost. See what the family has to say. We have a lot to cover. I got some videos, too, I want to show you. Now, guys, this is my second time doing a video on Nolan Wells, so I would advise you check out my first video. But we do have some updates here. Some changing in the narrative. We're going to talk about the phone because there's some changing in that narrative. The conflicting stories. We're going to talk about that. But real quick, Nolan Xavier Wells was 18 years old. He had just graduated from Ocean Springs High School and was playing wide receiver at Southwest Mississippi Community College. People who knew him described him as humble, respectful, hardworking, and a leader. He had a Division I tryout scheduled, and attorney Ben Crump has said Nolan took his future seriously and was careful about the choices he made. I get that. But we have to take into account context, setting, environment. They're at a party on an island. I mean, can we make the assumption that there was drinking? Can we make the assumption that there was substance abuse? Can we make the assumption that there's a good chance maybe that Nolan could have participated in that? We don't know. So we're waiting for the toxicology report. But guys, he's young. Sometimes young people do foolish things, so we have to take that into account, whether we want to believe that or not. That is a possible scenario. And again, waiting for the toxicology really would be ideal right now, because during these moments when the investigation is still ongoing, because it is, even though they said they may think it's foul play, they still said they're waiting for that toxicology. There's going to be quietness from the law enforcement side. So now the people that are coming in on the civil side, they're going to fill the air up. They're going to add some ambiguity, some confusion, and they're going to get free reign a little bit. And law enforcement is going to want to wait. They're going to want to be quiet. They're not going to want to make any assumptions until they get that toxicology. But sometimes when you get these lawyers that come in that are pushing for those civil lawsuits, it kind of pushes law enforcement to have to say something, because sometimes the lawyers on the civil suit side, like Sharpton and Crump, they're going to say things that law enforcement may say, we can't sit on that. We're going to have to react to that. We're going to have to say something to that. So, and I get we want transparency, but you can't just have transparency without context. So law enforcement needs to wait for certain things to come out so then they can provide information. So you got the information along with context, and then it starts to tell a story. But right now, what you're going to get on one side is just a lot of generalities, and because what do they have? We're all still waiting for the toxicology. So right now, it's just an incomplete picture based on assumptions. Let's see what comes back from the toxicology, and then let's see, what we're starting to see. Because the biggest concern I have is, sometimes these lawyers, they say certain things that are meant to build some level of implicit bias. And then when the system is able to talk and tell you what their findings are, you doubt the system. And at that point, there's nothing the system can do. There's just nothing. The truth winds up being pushed down, and the narrative that's been floating around before the truth even had a chance to speak has now become a belief, and the truth can't win against a belief. So on July 4th, Nolan went out by boat with friends to Horn Island. That's a remote barrier island off the Mississippi Gulf Coast, about 10 miles, I heard. Horn Island is rugged and undeveloped, no permanent buildings, no drinking water, no resident staff. You can only get there by boat, and on holidays, people anchor offshore, swim, and hang out. Authorities say Nolan was last seen around 3 p.m. on the northwest end of Horn Island. It's around 4:30, and around 4:30 p.m., the boat carrying his friends left the island and returned to the mainland without Nolan. His family reported him missing. A multi-agency search began involving the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, the Coast Guard, National Park Services, the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, and volunteer groups. And guys, I broke this down in detail in the last episode, so there's a lot here. I'm just speeding through so I can get to these updates. On July 6th, a park ranger found a body in the water off the northwest tip of Horn Island. That body was later confirmed through dental records and DNA to be Nolan. A state autopsy concluded he drowned and found no obvious external injuries. Authorities said they did not yet see clear evidence of foul play, though they kept the investigation open. Again, they did not yet, and they're keeping the investigation open. Now, guys, I have this more in detail in my video from yesterday. Again, I'm just going over it now briefly to get to the updates. So that's the foundation of the case. Very quick, I know, guys, but again, more details in the video I did yesterday. The deeper question starts when we look at who he was with, what his friends say, and what the last digital trail shows. So I got a few videos I do want to show. So the first video I want to show is this one. So let me just get this in the browser. Bear with me, guys, because I'm doing this as we go. I'm trying to implement more videos, so I'm not just a talking head, if that makes sense. So this video is coming from the Badge and Truth. So let me show you this. I'm sorry, I got to use this video, so hopefully he doesn't get upset. Gives me a copyright. I thought this was a good video that
you can see here over my shoulder, the Jackson County Mobile Command Unit is already here and set, and there is a pickup truck on the other side of it for the Jackson County Sheriff's Office as well. Now, they were here yesterday looking and searching the area. What we know right now is that Nolan Wells was last seen without a shirt in blue swim trunks with some sunglasses on around 3 p.m. on the 4th of July over at Horn Island. Now, he went out there with some friends to celebrate the weekend and celebrate the holiday and has not been seen, like I said.
All right, guys, let's think about where the location is. This is off the coast of Ocean Springs, around that area. It's in Jackson County. It's in Jackson County, not Jackson, the city of Jackson. It's Jackson County, which is South Mississippi, and Horn Island is in the Gulf of now America. It's in the Gulf down there, and it's a remote island. It's a remote island designated for wildlife. It has no structures. It has no restrooms. It doesn't have drinking water. Basically, you just on an island like one of those what you would see on TV, a remote island. So we got to get that understood right there. So you'll have a good idea of what the surroundings are.
Since 3 p.m. Now, the search party is expected to continue today. The United Cajun Navy is expected to also take some aircraft up in the air to help with the search efforts. I've already heard about 2 planes go over my head this morning as well. We got a chance to speak with the United Cajun Navy earlier about this investigation moving forward.
If you were one of the group that was with him, or if you were on the island and you were there and saw anything, please don't be afraid to come forward and tell the authorities exactly what you know, no matter what you might think might be some consequences or whatnot. But it's very important right now in these critical moments that we get truthful, confirmable information.
Now, the family and also Jackson County Sheriff's Department is looking for any information or any photos or videos that could have helped and could help pinpoint a timeline out there on the island on July 4th. If you were out there celebrating on Horn Island on Independence Day and you have anything that you feel like could prove or point to a person or timeline, it is asked that you send that in to the Jackson County.
And that's when it was first starting to be covered on the news. As you know, the latest updates are they have discovered his body. And now they did the first autopsy, as I mentioned. Looks like officially there's no sounds of foul play. They believe it's a drowning, but we're still waiting for the toxicology. But right now, there's still some concerns with what happened that day, a lot of gaps. And what we're going to try to do now is try to update from the video I did yesterday to now. And first, we're going to go into the young woman on the island, Katie. There were some updates on that, and I do have a video I want to show you on Instagram. So shortly before Nolan disappeared, they said he was with a young woman on the island. Search update and early reports say Nolan was last seen talking to a girl on the north end of Horn Island. That detail comes from people involved in the search and from posts describing his last known sighting. Later coverage and social conversations identify that girl as Katie. Different sources refer to her as Katie McCormick, Katie Montgomery, or simply Katie, Katie. There's confusion over the exact last name, but they're pointing to the same person. The young woman whose mother has confirmed she was with Nolan on Horn Island and that they spent time together on the north end and that at some point they parted ways. Major outlets don't formally present Katie as Nolan's official girlfriend, though some online speculation goes there. What is solid is that she's the last young woman known to spend extended time with him on the island and that she's described as cooperating with authorities. Now, there was a video I saw on Instagram. The girl, it's right here. I think this, no, sorry, it's a YouTube short, but it is on Instagram too. But he actually made it into a YouTube short. So let me do it from the YouTube short side. I think there's a picture of her too here. All right, so let me share this. This guy gives us a nice breakdown, kind of what we just discussed. Let me actually like it. And his name is Elliot Connie Speaks. So let's hear what he's got to say.
So the girl that Nolan was last seen with, her name is Katie, is cooperating with authorities and is speaking up about what she saw. And according to Katie, they hung out for a little while in the afternoon. And the last thing that she remembers is Nolan telling her, I'm going to my friends and I'm going to leave with them, which directly refutes them saying that he told them that he was going to hang out with some girl who's going to find another way to get back to the mainland. So that's a really, really powerful discrepancy that the last person that we know saw him alive said, the last thing he said to me was, I'm going to go back with my friends because we're going to go back to the mainland, which makes sense. You don't get on a boat to a very populated, but secluded, like hard to get to, but populated island on a holiday and just think I'm randomly going to find another way back to the mainland. It doesn't really work that way. So there's so many different stories and so many different things flying around that don't make any sense. I was very glad that somebody sent me the report of the girl. They call her a girlfriend. I don't think she was a girlfriend, but people online are calling her a girlfriend. I don't think she was a girlfriend, but a girl he met there. And she is fully cooperating with authorities and has let the authorities know that what she recalls the last thing him saying after they were hanging out is, I'm going to go back with my friends, get on the boat, and go back to the mainland. So, I'm in contact with a lot of people. I've been in contact with some of the members of the family and some people in the local area and some people from the school. People are sending me information, so I'm going to share it with you. I think it's very important that we are aware of stories like this because there are racial undertones in not just what happened that day, but also in the way it's being covered. And I think that it's important that we cover these things in a way that makes this family much more likely to have justice. Perhaps it's an accidental drowning. As I've also heard, the sheriff is saying they suspect it was an accidental drowning. That's an early report. I don't know if that's true or not, or perhaps something nefarious or wrong happened. But I do know that there are many different stories coming from different angles, and I want the authorities to take this seriously, do a proper investigation, and give this family the proper justice that they deserve.
Now, guys, and I'm going to go over it now. I know there's conflicting stories right now because you got Katie saying this and you got the friend saying this. So my first thought is most likely law enforcement knows more than we do. But if I have to guess what's provided, maybe what happened to Nolan happened in between. So maybe there was a point where he was going to be with her. Then he thought better of it. And he said, I'm going to go back with my friends. And then sadly, he never made it back to his friends. So maybe there really is no two conflicting stories. Maybe what happened to Nolan happened in between the two stories being able to connect. It's possible. I just want to put it out there because people are definitely pushing conflicting stories. Well, wait a second. Maybe the story is true, but he just never got a chance to get to the second half of it. Maybe he tells her, I am going to go back with my friends, and he just never made it back. And maybe somewhere along the line when they interview the friends have reason to believe that he was with her, because she said maybe like he kind of made a decision to go back. So maybe there was a point where he was going to stay there. Then he was like, hey, wait a second, now let me go, or whatever it is. But the point is, maybe what happened is in between him talking to her and then going back. So according to statements shared by Katie's mother and summarized in coverage, Katie and Nolan were hanging out on the north end of Horn Island, walking, talking, and spending time together as part of the day's events. At some point, their time together ended. Katie's mother has said they parted ways, and Katie has reportedly told investigators that Nolan then walked away from her, and then some summaries reported that Nolan said he was heading towards the boat when they separated. That specific wording comes through commentary and secondhand reporting rather than a long direct TV interview with Katie. So the careful way to say this pretty much is according to what Ben reported. Katie says they parted ways and Nolan walked off in the direction of the boat. Katie's mother has emphasized that Katie does not know what happened after that. She did not see Nolan again. She did not see him enter the water. She could only say that he was alive, acting normally, and moving away from her, reportedly towards the boat area when they separate. She did not see him go on the boat. So Katie's account, as reported, is I was with Nolan. We hung out. We parted ways. He walked away from me towards the boat. I don't know what happened after that. But she didn't say he got on the boat. That's important. And that makes her the last person outside his friends group to describe his movement and direction in her own words. I think I did both the YouTube and the Instagram video. Hold on. I think that's the same one, right? Hold on, guys. I have another video here, but I think I accidentally took the Instagram and the... I'm just presenting a different angle, so... But it is possible that could be the case. It's the same video. Okay. So don't worry about it. It's the same video. So again, I mean, that could be the case, right? I mean, I know that they also mentioned that, guys, I'm just adding thoughts. Hear me out. I know they mentioned there was something wrong with the boat and they had to go back early. So maybe Nolan's trying to work some magic with this girl. And maybe at first he's like, you know what? I'm going to go, we're going back too early. I'm trying to hook up. Maybe I'll figure out how to get back because right now I'm invested in trying to hook up with this girl. It's possible. I could be way off. But then maybe after he's talking to her, because remember, they had to go back. Their boat was damaged or their boat had a concern with I forgot the concern, but there was a concern with the boat. I'm sure I'll say it here. It's the boat needed to leave because there was a concern. So maybe he felt the pressure of, shit, I got to go now, but I want to either hook up with this girl or I want to be here a little bit longer. So maybe he tells his friends, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just try to stay here because I'm trying to work at getting this girl. So as he's talking to her, maybe he thinks better of it. He's like, you know what, I can't do that. Let me get back to my friends. Hey, maybe we'll hook up. I'll get your number, whatever it is. I don't know, whatever. And then we go back. And then he never made it back. It's possible. That's why the friends never saw him. So I don't know if it's two conflicting stories or just a story that never finished. Maybe his idea was to go back because he wanted to be with the girl. The boat was a concern, so they had to go back early. He's trying to hook up and realizes, maybe let me just go back. And then he never made it back. She saw him go on the boat. So I'm going to go towards the boat. Now we see Katie reported account against what Nolan's friends and Judge Ashley Cole have said. Nolan's friends have told authorities and the media that Nolan chose to stay on Horn Island with a girl and would catch another ride later. They say the boat needed to leave and that Nolan wanted to remain on the island. It's exactly what I said, guys. This is not being reported this way. I'm just by anybody else, but this is what the story is telling me. This is what I've been thinking. I've been thinking that literally he wanted to hook up with her, told the friends, hey, guys, I don't want to really leave early. I'm working some magic with this girl. Let me go be with this girl. And then he realizes, what am I doing? That's crazy. Hey, I'll catch up with you later. I got to go. And then he never made it back. So it's not really two conflicting stories, just the one story never finished. Judge Ashley Cole, the mother of one of the boys on the boat, publicly echoed that version. She has said the boat was having an issue, often described as a bilge pump problem or taking on water, and needed to return to the mainland for safety. In her account, Nolan decided to stay behind with the girl and would return on another boat. So one narrative is Nolan chose to stay on the island with the girl. The boat left believing he would catch another ride later. Katie reported narrative is she and Nolan parted ways. He walked away from her, reportedly towards the boat. She doesn't know what happened after. Those stories, it may not line up neatly. One frames Nolan as wanting to stay. The other frames him as leaving Katie and heading towards the boat. Maybe conflict is at the core of the question about what his friends did and what really happened before the boat left without him. But it's maybe not conflicting. Just never got to play the rest of it out. So again, just to reiterate, because I think it is important. Hey guys, I know you got to go back. I know you know the boat's messed up, but I'm trying to hook up with this girl here. So I'll work on getting a ride back. Don't worry about me. Maybe at this time he did forget that maybe his phone was on the boat. I don't know. But you do what you got to do. I'm going to go hook up with this girl, and I'll go ahead and get a ride back later. I'll figure it out. Then he's with the girl just briefly, and then all of a sudden he's like, you know what? Maybe I should go back with my friends. Let me go ahead because I may not want to just in case I want to get stuck here. So hey, listen, I'll catch up with you. Give me your number, whatever it is. I don't know what happened there, and I'm going to go. So then maybe he races to get back. Something happens, slips and falls, whatever it is, and he never makes it onto the boat. So both stories are truthful. He just never finished the second half. Now, bombshell drops in case of missing Mississippi teen Nolan Wells. What are his friends hiding? All right, so let me see. Bear with me, guys, because I'm trying to. Maybe I could not worry about so many of these videos. Yeah, let me try this video here. I'm trying to, as I said, not be so much of a talking head. But I want to make sure the videos I'm using are like from the news. Some of these videos I plugged in are not always from the news. This was from Law and Crime Grid. Hold on one second. I think this is part of the news. Yeah, I think this will work. Because sometimes these smaller outlets or these smaller networks have some very unique coverage. I have so many videos here, guys, that I looked up. So check this out.
Search continues for a teen reported missing from Horn Island.
Remember, some of these videos are a bit older because I'm telling the story progressively.
18-year-old Nolan Xavier Wells was last seen Saturday afternoon on the northwest tip end of Horn Island.
I heard he went to a different island. I heard that he swam out trying to catch another boat. I heard a lot of different things, but I don't know which one is true. But I need to know exactly what's the last thing people saw Nolan doing. It's going to make my job a lot easier. There were some people that thought he might have, wandered off into the middle of the island. Maybe they have that lake, but we sent people up there today, and if he was barefoot, there's no way he made it up there. There's cactuses and there's just a lot of thorny brush and whatnot. He would not have comfortably been able to make it to the middle of the island. He probably would have turned around and went back toward the beach. If you were one of the group that was with him, or if you were on the island and you were there and saw anything, please don't be afraid to come forward and tell the authorities exactly what you know, no matter what you might think might be some consequences or whatnot. But it's very important right now in these critical moments.
He was last seen walking toward the water on a holiday weekend, surrounded by friends, surrounded by people, and somehow none of them can tell us exactly what happened next. A young man, an athlete, a son, gone in broad daylight on one of the busiest islands on the Gulf Coast. And the people who were closest to him in those final moments are the ones giving the fewest answers. How does someone vanish in front of a crowd and nobody sees a thing? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel.
All right, so that was Law and Crime Grid. I want to show you another video real quick. Nolan Xavier. See, sometimes the news just sensationalizes a lot of this stuff. I think I may have to just limit some of the videos I have and only show you the ones that I feel. Yeah, let me just do this, guys. Bear with me. So then you have the viral video. All right, so there's talks of a viral video from Horn Island. The clip shows a crowded beach scene, boats pulled up near the shore, people on the sand and in the water, and a heated argument audible in the background. Witnesses on nearby boats have said they heard a fight and saw a boat leave quickly afterwards. For days, people online treated this clip like proof that Nolan was in physical fight. Jackson County Sheriff's Office has acknowledged the existence of this video and said they are investigating it. They've asked anyone who was on the northwest tip of Horn Island on July 4th to send original unedited photos and videos depicting any altercation or images of Nolan. They want raw files, not just reposts, so they can evaluate them as evidence. Now, those discussions have a new twist. The photographer who took the viral video has said that the clip does not show Nolan fighting. According to that photographer, Nolan may be in the environment captured in the video, but he is not the person fighting in that footage. That matters because it changes what the video proves. It still shows tension and argument and possibly the moments leading up to the boat leaving, but it no longer supports the idea that Nolan is clearly seen throwing punches or attacking anyone. So we've all seen that viral clip. I'm going to show you that from Horn Island. Even though I did in the last one, I could show you that one again. A lot of people assume Nolan was the one fighting in that video, but the person who filmed it has now said Nolan wasn't fighting in that footage. So we still have evidence of a confrontation, and we still have questions about why that boat left afterwards, but the video itself doesn't clearly show Nolan in a physical fight. This is one of the reasons Nolan's parents say they want a deeper investigation into his final hours, not just what is shown on the clip, but who was actually doing what and why decisions were made the way they were. So I think we all seen this. Let's see. Viral video. So do I have the TMZ article here? This, I think, is the viral video. So you guys seen this video, I'm sure by now. I showed it in my last one. Let me share it. Bear with me. I think you guys seen this already. Hold on.
Before you went missing. Nolan Wells is seen getting into a heated verbal dispute.
So now that may not be the case. Now, if you go to TMZ, even I'm not a big fan of TMZ, photographer, Nolan Wells. All right, let me show you something. Let me share this one out. All right, let me go get rid of this one. I'm trying to. So let me just make sure you guys can see this. Yep. All right. So if you go down, viral Nolan Wells video doesn't show him fighting. There's Nolan. The viral video that allegedly captured a tense confrontation between Nolan Wells and another person on Horn Island just hours before his disappearance is not what it seems, because the owner of the video says it captures no altercation at all. So that's the video you saw. The original owner of the video tells TMZ they were on Horn Island, the last place Nolan was seen alive, on July 4th. They took the video and sent to their spouse. After hearing about Nolan's disappearance, they put the video online to see if someone might ID Nolan, and then folks started falsely claiming Nolan was in the video fighting with others. The owner of the video also tells us they heard of a verbal altercation that occurred on the island, but their video doesn't show the fight. We had Nolan's best friend, Javon Williams, on TMZ Live, and I'll show you that video later in this video. And that was today when they had him on, who confirmed the alleged altercation did occur and did not involve Nolan. Again, that fight is not in the viral video, despite what some on social media are suggesting, according to the original owner. Kind of looks like Scottie Pippen a little bit. See a little Scottie Pippen in this gentleman. The owner of the video also says it was sent to Nolan's mother in the sheriff's department, and no further contact has been made on behalf of law enforcement, Nolan's family, or attorney Ben Crump. Fortunately, this falls in line with yet another example of a contradiction in the Nolan's investigation, which is what Ben has been hyper aware of. And I showed you this interview with Ben Crump the other day. We spoke to Ben Crump on Thursday, and he seems adamant there could be a cover-up going on with the Mississippi authorities. The investigation remains ongoing. So we're starting to see some change in narrative here, guys. We got to talk about the phone. So now we come to Nolan's phone, which his parents and their attorney say raises serious questions. Early accounts say Nolan and at least one friend left their phone on the boat. Nolan did not have his phone with him when he disappeared. When the boat returned to the mainland without Nolan, his phone remained on the boat under the control of his friends or the boat owner. I have a feeling the phone was just forgotten about, to be honest with you. I have a feeling Nolan just really wanted to get back to the girl. He forgot he didn't have his phone because he's used to carrying it. And then maybe at one point realized, oh shit, I don't have my phone. And then maybe that was also another reason why he could have said, let me go back with my friends or whatever. But either way, I think the phone was left on the boat, maybe. And the friends just didn't realize it. Because I mentioned in a video yesterday, if I was involved in doing something foolish to Nolan, why would I not? I would get rid of the phone too. I would take that far out in the ocean and I would throw it. So earlier counts, okay, we said that. Well, I'll read it again. Earlier accounts say Nolan and at least one friend left their phones on the boat. Nolan did not have his phone with him when he disappeared. When the boat returned to the mainland without Nolan, his phone remained on that boat under the control of his friends or the boat owner. I don't have clarity on that. His parents did not simply find the phone at home. They went out and found it. This is the change in the narrative that I had yesterday. This is an update. They sought out the phone using information and tools to locate it and then recovered it. Once they had it in their possession, they began examining its contents. And I'll show you when we do the Good Morning America discussion, because I have that interview. They'll explain how that happened. It's one of the first questions they asked the family. Attorney Ben Crump has said the family believes some messages were missing. Conversations they expected to see were not in the phone's message history. He has publicly described this as texts that appear to have been deleted before the phone reached the family. And to Nolan's parents, that suggests that someone may have tampered with his digital records while the phone was in other hands. So Nolan left his phone on the boat. His friends brought that phone back without him because it was on the boat. His parents tracked the phone down and got it back. And when they looked inside, they say the messages didn't look complete. Their lawyer, Ben Crump, has gone on record saying text appears to have been deleted before the family got the device. That's a major reason why they're asking for a deeper investigation to what happened to Nolan's phone and who handled it in those hours. So again, it could have been forgotten on the boat, and when they tracked it down, that's where they could have picked it up. Let me see, because I do have a video here. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to do some videos. Try to work hard to put this together. Yeah, this one. I think this is an article. Let me just double check, because I want to go through this article. I'm trying to show receipts. You guys, hold on. Hold on, it's this one. It's a New York Post article, maybe. Bear with me, guys. I'm just trying to find it. Yeah, there's a New York Post. Let me share this real quick. Make sure you can see it. Yep. Nolan's Wells body to be flown hundreds of miles from Mississippi as attorney reveals deleted message concerns. Just want to play this, so let me keep this commercial mute and then I'll play this video. It's almost done. It's just a little commercial. Bear with me. Hold on. So while we're waiting for the commercial to play out, it says, oh wait, is it done? Oh, I have to let it do it this way, damn it. Sorry guys, I'm trying to figure this out. Bear with me. I just want to, I think there's a video here that I wanted to show. Yep. Hold on.
Football player found dead after vanishing during a 4th of July boating trip with friends. as questions swirl about what led up to the teenager's tragic death. What do authorities know about the disappearance and death of college wide receiver Nolan Wells? Here's what you need to know. A 4th of July boating trip turned tragic in Mississippi after college student Nolan Xavier Wells went missing on Horn Island. According to authorities, Wells and a group of friends took a boat out to the island, a popular spot about 10 miles off the Mississippi Gulf Coast, to celebrate the 4th. Though it isn't clear if anything transpired on the island, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office said Wells was last seen around 3 p.m., talking to a girl at the north end of the island. According to Ebony magazine, the girl's mother reportedly took to Facebook to confirm that her daughter had been with Wells, but that she didn't have any information on his sudden disappearance. Jackson County Sheriff John Ledbetter told ABC News that Wells's friends eventually left the island to go back home without him, telling the outlet that Wells supposedly chose to stay on the Oasis. But as it got dark and there was no sign of Wells, the 18-year-old's mother called to report him missing at around midnight, according to WLOX. The next day, the Coast Guard and Sheriff's Office jumped into action to try and find Wells. At least several other agencies also joined in the search, but authorities were coming up empty. On July 6, authorities got a break in the case. A U.S. Park Service ranger had recovered a body off the northwestern tip of the island. The coroner told WLOX that he had, quote, no reason to believe it wasn't him. The outlet later reported that his body was positively identified through dental records. But what led to Wells's untimely death is still a mystery, and Wells's family is demanding answers. Wells's cause of death has not yet been determined and could take weeks pending autopsy results. However, authorities told ABC News he's suspected of drowning as the investigation remains ongoing. Ledbetter told ABC News that foul play is not suspected in Wells's death. However, TMZ reported that law enforcement was looking into a viral clip circulating online, which allegedly shows several people having an argument near the Horn Island shoreline. The video sparked speculation that the tense moment could be connected to Wells's disappearance. However, authorities have not confirmed that the footage is authentic or whether the people seen in it have any connection to the college student. Ledbetter said in a July 7 statement that officers are looking to speak with anyone who, quote, observed or heard an argument, disturbance, or other unusual activity while on the island that day. Wells's grieving family have since retained the services of prominent civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who insists that they will, quote, not rest until every fact about what happened to Nolan on Horn Island is brought into the light.
So to be honest with you, and again, I'm trying to tell this in order, but you know, when you got the photographer saying that wasn't, well, he's saying there was no altercation, but it definitely wasn't Nolan Wells. That takes into account. So I'm sure law enforcement will interview him if they haven't interviewed him already. So remember, they just started looking at the video. So that may explain why they haven't spoken to him yet. But, you know, I definitely would think they would have to, only to debunk it, you know. So hopefully that is an interview that they're going to do. But I want to, so Nolan Wells' body will be flown more than 800 miles for an independent autopsy, as his family lawyer revealed they have concerns about deleted messages on his cell phone. So I believe that happened already. Well, Adriel calls for it was fine. I just want to see if they have anything on the. It's just we don't have the results on that. We're supposed to get the results today, but we didn't get the results. He goes, that's not adding up to them. The fact that when the family gets the cell phone back, they're saying they're trying to understand why they're deleted messages. I have a little bit more detail on those deleted messages. Comes from the interview they did on Good Morning America, which I'll be showing you shortly. But there is Snapchat, which Nolan's mother said looked wrong when she opened it. She told ABC News that when she and her sister opened Nolan's Snapchat on the recovered phone, he had two accounts and there was absolutely nothing visible in either. No snaps, no stories, even though, in her words, it hadn't yet been 24 hours, the window when Snapchat stories normally remain visible. She said that can't be because she expected some trace of his 4th of July day to be there. She expected it, but guys, from what I'm hearing, he left his phone on the boat. So if he left his phone on the boat, he wouldn't be taking videos because the phone is on the boat. Plus, there's no connection out there for what I'm being told. So I know she's expecting to see all these things, but one, he didn't have his phone, possibly, and two, there's no connection. It barely gets anything from the mainland. So, I mean, hopefully the family starts to understand that he may not have had his phone to do what you expected him to do, nor is there a connection for him to have been able to upload anything to a server. Snapchat is designed for, well, that just talks about how Snapchat works. So Crump's allegation about deleted messages refers broadly to text message history on the phone, which, again, what text messages? Saying text messages were deleted. What text messages? I wish they could be a little bit more specific, because she does have the phone. Law enforcement hasn't said anything on that. But why can't they tell us what the text messages are then? Because if law enforcement believes that there's no foul play at this point, they're waiting for the toxicology, then what is it on the text message that you think law enforcement is missing? What text messages were deleted? Because then, as I said, the mother starts to mention Snapchat. Well, he didn't have his phone on him. So if he didn't have his phone on him, what would he have videoed? Nolan's mother's observation is specifically about Snapchat being empty when she believed content should still be present. So I don't know if Ben Crump is kind of misunderstanding Snapchat and deleted texts, maybe. But I think, to be honest with you, it makes sense for nothing to be on the Snapchat. Even though the mother says what's what he does, he always video stuff. Yeah, but there's no connection there, and his phone could have been on the boat. Both feed into the sense that the digital footprint of Nolan's last day is thinner than it should be, and both are part of why his parents are asking for a deeper investigation into these final hours and what happened to his phone and account. So again, if his phone was on the boat, then he wouldn't have uploaded anything. And Crump, what text messages are you talking about? You're talking about Snapchat? What are the messages, Crump? We're just curious, because you didn't tell us what text messages. How do you know text messages were deleted? Because there's a missing gap. What missing gap? What was the time? And also, if he was trying to do text message, Russ made a good point. While he was on the boat and it wouldn't go through, sometimes we just delete those when they're undeliverable. So Nolan goes with his friends to Horn Island. He spends time with Katie on the north end. According to reported statements, they part ways and he walks away from her, reportedly towards the boat. I think that's where something could have happened. His friends and Judge Ashley Cole say he chose to stay on the island with the girl, well, because that was his last interaction, but he could have changed his mind, but the friends wouldn't have known of that. A viral video shows an argument on the beach. Witnesses describe a fight and a boat leaving quickly. The photographer now says Nolan is not shown fighting in that clip, and that's the owner of the footage. Nolan's phone is left on the boat and returned to the mainland with his friends. His parents later track it down and recover it, then say the message history appears incomplete, and Snapchat shows two accounts with absolutely nothing visible when they're expecting content, but that doesn't mean there was content there. A state autopsy calls it drowning, and a independent autopsy is underway. So I guess some people think they're unresolved, but I'm trying to provide another perspective. Now, I do want to get the conference, not the conference. First, I want to do the interview, the Good Morning America interview. This is a good interview. I'll let it play out, but let me read something first that I have my notes. Oh, let's see. Good Morning America, where are you? So give me a second, guys. There's a commercial. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Skip. All right. This is a 10-minute interview, so I thought we could play it real quick. Maybe stop it a few times. It's the family speaking out. All right, so I'm giving my notes here. So today's Nolan parents, Christina and Elmore Wansley, appeared on Good Morning America with Michael Strahan. They talked about Nolan and as their son, a special soul, and about how they learned that a body had been found and later confirmed to be him. They described his strength as an athlete, his dreams, and how difficult it is for them to accept the simple "he drowned" explanation when the details of his final hours, the accounts, the video, the phone, and the Snapchat are still unsettled. Again, it's their initial perspective investment, but they're not done yet. Or on GMA, they brought all of these concerns into the national spotlight, the conflicting narratives about whether he was going back to the boat or staying on the island is conflicting with just a narrative never completed. The viral video, which maybe the photographer says, hey, that's not what we saw. The phone that was left on the boat, the missing messages, and the empty Snapchat accounts. They say clearly that they want a thorough investigation into Nolan's death and his last hours, not a quick conclusion. And again, they didn't make they're waiting for the toxicology. But sometimes police may say a little something because they want to protect the innocent who could get accused. But then later on, if it changes, they go after the innocent then, or they go after the now guilty who could have been perceived as innocent earlier. All right, so let's do this.
More on the mysterious death of Nolan Wells. We're joined by his parents, Christine and Elmore Wansley, as well as their attorney, Ben Crump. And before we get started, first off, I want to thank you for being here under these circumstances. You know how extremely tough it must be. And we can express how sorry we are for you and your family. And first question, how are you two holding up?
Taking it second by second.
Day by day. Second by second and day by day, which we all can understand. And I just want to ask you, the friends that Nolan traveled to Horn Island with, they say that he stayed behind voluntarily. Why would he stay behind?
That we cannot answer. I can't fathom why he would.
I don't know why he would. We always taught him to, if you go with a group, you stay with a group. Mm-hmm. Even when he was in college, he would say, Dad, well, we're going to ride down to a party or something in another city. So I was out telling him, look, if you go with 5, you come back with 5. Do not separate from your group. Because I always said safety is in numbers. Mm-hmm. And he always said, yes, sir. So he knew to stay with his group. So why would he split from his group? I don't know.
So that would have been unusual for him to split from the group. Yeah. And you said he would always check in with you. Did he check in with you that day?
So that day, no, I don't. But of course, too, they were on the boat. And usually when he is out there, which it's not uncommon, he's, I think, since last year, he's been going there occasionally with his friends. And so it would always just be like, hey, Mom, I'm back type of thing. But this time there was no call or text from him. It was from his friend.
And then too,
I want to mention something that's important, guys. So when you look into when you're investigating something and you're trying to investigate, let's say in this case, what happened, you know, knowing the person is great. It gives you a good anchor, foundation, but you also have to understand circumstances, situations, and pressures. So you may have an idea of who someone can be, but you also have to understand how pressures can change individuals. So again, I get that. Oh, these are things he wouldn't normally do, but that doesn't mean he wouldn't do them. And we have to take that into account. I just want to mention that, okay? So the power of a situation can literally change a person. It could make them make very unique decisions, you know? So again, without truly understanding what happened in that moment, you really don't know how he could have reacted. You have an idea of what you would like for him to have done, but you don't know. You don't know. So again, he always leave with the group, but it looks like he was with the girl at one point, and then maybe there was an instinct for him to go back. I get it, but you know, sometimes even with our children, we have an idea of who we would like them to be, but again, they're young. They're facing all these different choices, different types of pressures. So sometimes you may think you know, but you don't know how they're going to react to certain situations. And I think that's where the investigators come in and they take just everything in context and they say, hey, I get he was a good boy, all this other stuff, and that's great, but this is what happened that day, and these were the choices that were made. If that's the case, it's just another perspective, which I'm really leaning towards.
Really didn't worry a lot about it because, you know, it was his last weekend to have fun, yeah. Because that Monday he had to report to school and we was preparing to take him back for camp to prepare for the season. So, you know, we understand he wanted to have his last hurrah before he locked down and get ready for the season. Because, like I said, the entire summer he's training. He got more serious. He started to understand what I was trying to tell him about football, not just being fun, but as you get farther in it becomes a business. If you want to excel, you have to understand both at the same time.
And we know, Ben, that you said that you're going to do an independent investigation.
Yes.
And you say you have Nolan's cell phone and messages were deleted. How could you tell messages were deleted?
Well, his parents got the phone back, and that's something that's important, Michael, because they tracked this phone on Life 360.
So Life 360, but when I received the phone call from Warren, I immediately called my friend Tashima and I said, hey, have you guys seen Nolan? Because her two sons, Jalen and Javon, like they grew up together. They played city league sports together. When they got into school, they played sports together. And so she was like, hey, like, okay, the boys were pulling up the location from Snapchat. So the Snapchat location looks completely different than the Life 360 location. So when I pulled up Life 360, it was different. It was showing everywhere the phone had been. Like I was like, well, it's showing that he's back on land. Like I'm not. He's like, but no, he didn't come back with us.
Well, how were you able to get the phone?
So we tracked it, and my friend Tashima went and picked it up.
It wasn't like they said we got his phone. They tracked it, and that.
First off, she kind of corrected him when, he said Life 360, and she kind of cut him off and basically said, nah, that's part of it, respectfully. But then she said what it was. So he really doesn't know, I think, a lot of what's happening behind the scenes, because she did correct him, guys. I could show you that again just to show you. Because when he started talking about Life 360, you could clearly see she cut him off, gave him respect, of course, but she focused more on Snapchat.
You say you have Nolan's cell phone and messages were deleted. How could you tell messages were deleted?
Well, his parents got the phone back, and that's something that's important, Michael, because they tracked this phone on Life 360.
So Life 360, but when I received the phone.
The Life 360, but it's very important if they would tell you where she found the phone. For some reason, he didn't follow up on that. We know how but I'm curious to see if the phone was somehow found in the boat, somehow found with the owner of where they got the boat from, whatever. I mean, somewhere found where they all were last there, because they said it could have been left on the boat. So this is a bit of a narrative change from what was reported the other day.
Call from Warren. I immediately called my friend Tashima and I said, hey, have you guys seen Nolan? Because her two sons, Jalen and Javon, like they grew up together. They played city league sports together. When they got into school, they played sports together. And so she was like, hey, like, okay, the boys were pulling up the location from Snapchat. So the Snapchat location looks completely different than the Life 360 location. So when I pulled up Life 360, it was different. It was showing everywhere the phone had been. Like I was like, well, it's showing that he's back on land. Like I'm not. He's like, but no, he didn't come back with us.
Well, how were you able to get the phone?
So we tracked it, and my friend Tashima went and picked it up.
It wasn't like they said we got his phone. They tracked it, and that highlights all these contradictions, Michael. The fact that they said Nolan was talking to a young woman, and I
kind of told you this could be because he was on his way back and never got to go back to his friends. So maybe there was a decision to go there, and then he second guessed himself, and then he never got a chance to make it back.
Said that he said, I'm going back to get on the boat with the boys. The boys said that he said he was going to stay with her. And so that's an obvious contradiction. And then this video of this, you can hear an argument going where Nolan is saying, give me my freaking phone.
He doesn't even know if that's even Nolan. Because later on, we're going to show you from his friend, Javon. This guy is making it sound like these are facts, and they are not facts. And this is what gets into social media. And when the facts come out, he's already got people emotionally connected. So it becomes a belief, and the facts just can't compete against a belief. So he sells implicit bias, And then he also pushes things as facts, and they're not. Who told you that was Nolan's voice? You're gonna have the friend that's gonna come out and say that wasn't Nolan. You're gonna have the photographer who took the pictures or took the video that says that's not him in the altercation, whatever it is. And then they're gonna somehow convince the public not to believe them, that they're all involved in a conspiracy now.
What are you freaking doing? And so then his phone ends up missing. I don't know any teenagers, Michael Strahan, who says, if you believe that story, I'm gonna stay behind and I'm gonna leave my phone. I mean, no young person leaves their cell phone. And so then there's so many things their parents were telling us about. Even why didn't his body wash up with the tide on Sunday? Why would it come on Monday? It's not adding up. And that is the problem when you think about the history of Mississippi.
Yeah, so there's...
I mean, this gentleman talks in a lot of generality. I think he's actually a little bit lost. If he was my lawyer on this, I wouldn't be really happy with him. I don't think he's too familiar with the specifics. I would really focus on the parents at this point, because the parents are the ones that are pushing a more truthful narrative. And when I mean more truthful narrative is they just want answers. That's all. And that's fine. I think this person coming in here, Crump, is going to make it a bit more difficult. The parents you could talk straightforward to. It looks like, hey, you want the truth? Let's figure this out. He's, I think, adding a lot of confusion, causing things to go into something that really wasn't meant to happen. And at the end of the day, I hope the family, when they realize that this narrative is going this way, maybe the family should turn around and look at the people that made this more confusing. Again, this is my perspective, guys. We're all able to have a perspective.
So many questions that need to be answered. And is there anything you'd like people to know about Nolan? What would you like them to know about your son?
With Base 44,
No,
okay.
Nolan, take your time. Nolan was very loving. He was liked by all. It was not a friend that he couldn't make.
No, we'll be right back with more for the parents of Nolan Wells and attorney Ben Crump. We're back now on GMA with the parents of Nolan Wells, Christina and Elmore Wansley. And I want you to please continue to tell us what you want the world to know about your son.
So Nolan was just like this bright light, right? Walk into a room, his smile, his energy was just so infectious. Like it's almost like he drew you into him. And he was just one of those people, like he always wanted everyone to be included. He didn't want anyone to feel left out. I remember one of his teachers emailing us. I can't remember what grade he was in, but basically it was math class. They had a special needs student and she asked a question and Nolan got everyone to put their hands down because he wanted that student to answer. And so student answers the question and she was like, Christine, the classroom, Nolan went crazy and everyone else started going crazy, just celebrating that child. Making them feel included. And that was the person he was. Like he loved everyone. And I always told Nolan, like, you have to be careful when you have such a big heart like that. I love that God blessed you with that, but you have to be careful with that because that it's not always returned, that type of love. But he was just genuinely a good person. Like I always say, all the best parts of me are with him.
And Dad, anything else you want to add?
It's just, he's going to be really missed. I know a lot of his teammates, they all looked at him as a leader. He's more like a silent leader. Not real big on words, more action, which is kind of like I was. I really wasn't real big on talking. I really wanted to show you and you follow me and people follow him. And it's gravitated. He put in the work, he worked hard, and he knew he was focused on what he wanted. And he wanted to make life better for, his family. He wanted to have his own family. He used to say, Dad, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to build this. I said, well, son, you got to take it one step at a time. slow down. Let's go. Let's walk this thing out. Let's train. Let's sign our deals. Let's make these teams, make these camps, put the work in, and everything else will work out.
I just want to mention something. So when a family goes through a loss, and I've been doing true crime now for a bit now, but also, I understand human behavior a lot. So they're going to go through, first they're shocked. And in some cases, they could go through denial if they can't blame something externally, because there's no way he would have done something like this, because ultimately a couple of things. One, they know their child. And this is not to bastardize the family. Just bear with me, just a perspective. Because one, we know our child, but there's also a level of responsibility they feel they have for their child. So sometimes when the child could make a foolish choice, that really is there no one else to blame but the fact that the child may have made a bad choice, then the family has to accept the fact that at some point they may feel, well, we could have protected him. We could have protected him and we didn't. So sometimes instead of them accepting that, as tough as that may be, they will accept another alternative, that this is impossible. It's never could have happened, because it's hard for them to accept, the fact that he could have made a bad choice, could have went swimming, could have drank. We don't know yet. I'm just saying hypothetically. And then along with that choice of them accepting that will be some type of blame that they have to put on themselves, which is not healthy. I'm not saying that's, this is not on them, but it's how they would perceive it. And that sometimes is why people may have trouble embracing the truth in cases like this, or accepting the truth, because the key word here is it's accepting. Because unfortunately, sometimes people put extra blame on themselves. And now in this case here, when they find out this is what happened, they'll look at themselves and said, what, we could have done more. Why did we let him go to that party? There's a lot of things that come into play. So again, I saw with Breonna Aguilera, a couple of cases we cover here. So I just want to let you know, sometimes the denial, even when the facts are saying one thing, the denial is expected from the family because it could be self-preservation. But then when you get the lawyers come in that feed the denial and exploit it, that's a concern for me, if that's the case here. But I want to present that angle. It's not being presented. All right, hold on.
Even his baby brother, their bond got even stronger, because now I have a big brother that he's finna do something. So now I want to outdo that. So his focus and his confidence has got even better. So I was looking forward to both of them having outstanding years.
Seasons,
It seemed like he inspired in the home, and he inspired outside of the home. And Attorney Crump, where do we go from here? What's next?
Well, the deleted messages that Christina was going to briefly touch on, we want to get the phone and figure that out.
Backtrack on that. When we finally got his phone, me and my sister went through the phone. We went in his Snapchat. He had 2 accounts, absolutely nothing. It wasn't even 24 hours, which is how long videos and pictures stay in Snapchat. And I was just like, that can't be. Like, I've seen Nolan whenever he snaps, like when he goes and he's having fun,
So again, remember, he didn't have his phone. 2, she's staying on with Snapchat. I have a feeling Crump said deleted messages, not understanding the Snapchat, because again, I don't know if he's a smart man or not. I don't know, but he doesn't come off that way. So I think that, it was Snapchat. He made it deleted texts, but they're not going to correct him now because it kind of went viral. But she's focusing more on Snapchat. With me, okay, so we're focused on the expectation that he could have taken videos, but we don't know for a fact if he did. And he probably couldn't have, because the phone could have been on the boat or there was no connection. So maybe these deleted texts, because if that's what was me, I wouldn't be focused on Snapchat and the expectation of what could have been sent out, because there's too many concerns that would have not had it sent out, as I mentioned, the boat or the connection. But the text would have been provable. That would have been something I would have leaned on more, because I can prove that indefinitely, because that's not based on an expectation. That's based on what's there and then the gap in the messages. But again, I have a feeling he said text. They're saying Snapchat. That's why she keeps saying Snapchat. Because Snapchat, I think Crump got confused, and that's the narrative they pushed.
He does videos. Like, there was absolutely nothing, no saved videos. And even my sister was like, yeah, that's suspicious,
Michael, we having an independent autopsy done at the behest of his family. Colin Kaepernick helped pay for the independent autopsy. We flew his body up from Mississippi to D.C. because they wanted an autopsy done by a person with no interaction with the Mississippi law enforcement, because there's an issue of trust here that is really important. And the fact that they keep trying to say, well, suggesting it was a drowning, but nobody out there reported him drowning, it's not adding up, Michael Strahan. It is not adding up.
So as you could tell, he also keeps repeating himself. So I think Strahan rather just focus on the family, because this guy just keeps on repeating himself.
And honestly, we are doing this because at the end of the day, I would hope any parent would fight for their kids to find out if anything happened, what did happen. So we just want honesty and transparency.
So, okay, that's fair, right? Look what she said. If anything happened, honesty and transparency. I think she's more reasonable.
We want a thorough investigation. We want that same respect that would be given to anybody else, and that's it. We just want answers.
Well, we really appreciate all of you being here. We hope you get the answers that you deserve.
Guys, the narrative is starting to point to another direction, though, a direction that I feel I'm more comfortable with, the direction I pushed yesterday. I really don't want to, just to jump to a race war. So later the same day, Nolan's parents went to Harlem to the National Actions Network House of Justice and stood with Ben Crump and Reverend Al Sharpton. At the press conference, Crump called for a full, transparent, and urgent investigation into Nolan's death, which he has done before. He demanded the release of records, autopsy reports, investigative files, video evidence, and digital data, and highlighted the conflicting accounts, the viral video and the phone Snapchat questions as reasons this case cannot just be written off as a simple accident. Sharpton placed the case in the broader context of Mississippi's history and the pattern of Black families needing outside advocates to secure full investigations into suspicious deaths. He talked about race, trust, and accountability, arguing that Nolan's case fits the larger story of how some deaths are minimized or under investigated. Nolan's parents stood beside them, signaling they're not only grieving but actively pushing for answers. As they're saying, they're pushing for answers. They want the truth. This is where their demand for a deeper investigation into the final hours of Horn Island becomes explicit. They want investigators to fully explore every account, every video, every digital trail, and both autopsies. So I think they're already doing that. I'm not going to show you the whole video of that because it's over an hour, but there was, the news did a quick little summary, Sharpton. So let's do the quick little summary. But if you guys, I did watch it. It's about close to an hour. But let me give you a quick little summary from the news. See if they did a summary, so you can watch just a piece of it. It's about an hour, 50 minutes to an hour. I want to see if there's a bit of a quick. Maybe this. Will this work? Because they even had one of Crump's attorneys talk about how it's not adding up. They keep on using that thing, not adding up. Let me see. Is this a quick one? Yeah, let me do this one. This one's about a minute, but I wanted to do but guys, you should watch the video if you're following this case. It's an hour long. Here you go.
We're going to make sure that we get to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, because Nolan deserves it.
New details at noon into the death investigation of Nolan Wells, the 18-year-old Mississippi college football player whose body was discovered on Horn Island Monday, days after going missing. Right now, you're taking a live look at a press briefing that's happening right now involving Nolan's family, also his attorney and Reverend Al Sharpton. Again, they're speaking to reporters, vowing to leave no stone unturned when it comes to learning about Nolan's final moments, even detailing some of the search efforts. Wells, as you know, went out on a boat with his friends to Horn Island the 4th of July, but did not go back with them. The Jackson County Sheriff says that people told them that Wells wanted to stay on the island and that he was going to get a ride back with somebody else. But scrutiny has been swirling about what happened, with race playing a major factor. Crump wants an independent investigation, having another autopsy done in Washington, D.C., away from Mississippi law enforcement officials. And Nolan's family just wants to know the truth after undergoing that grueling search.
We just want to know what happened and why our baby didn't come home. Like that's our biggest thing. And we are so grateful to everyone, family, friends, classmates, United Cajun Navy.
If I knew anyone who had a boat, I would have went out that night looking for my son. We tried, but I don't have friends with boats. But if I knew someone with one, I would have went out that night.
Now, we are still waiting for the autopsy report from the Jackson County coroner. And we're also learning that Colin Kaepernick and Tyler Perry are helping to pay for that independent autopsy of Nolan in Washington, D.C.
I like how the news is keeping the family front and center. Let's talk about Javon Williams. That's one of his best friends. Alongside civil rights leaders, Nolan's best friend, Javon Williams, has spoken publicly, and his perspective adds another dimension. In a TMZ interview, which I'm going to show you, Javon says he doesn't want Nolan's case turned into a whole race thing. He talks about Nolan as his close friend and recalls their last exchange where Nolan told him he loved him. Javon acknowledges the pain and the questions, but expresses that from his viewpoint, the focus should be on Nolan himself and the truth of what happened, not only on the racial narrative. So we've heard Ben Crump and Reverend Al Sharpton frame this case in the context of race in Mississippi's history. Nolan's best friend, Javon Williams, has also gone on TMZ to say he doesn't want this turned into a whole race thing. Javon wants to focus on Nolan, on the friendship, and on the facts of his last hours. That shows there are multiple ways people closest to Nolan are talking about this case, some centering on race and history, others centering Nolan's individual story and the facts. So I want to play this video. Okay, guys, let me share this video real quick. This is the interview with Javon, TMZ. I think you'll find this interesting if you haven't seen it.
Javon, have you seen the video that's been going around social media where people think that they're hearing an argument between people and they're wondering whether or not Nolan is one of the people in that argument? You just described that you had another friend, not Nolan, another friend who was in and got into a dispute. Is that video the other argument that you were talking about?
Yes.
So, but is that Nolan in the video?
I can't tell. It's too far away. But in that video, I feel like the voices are too clear. Like from the side, it's too clear for it to be that far away, for it to be Nolan arguing. And then also that altercation, it sounds just like my other friend that got into an altercation on the boat. And they were trying to, like, as he was in that altercation, I was calming him down. They were trying to get him out off the island. They were trying to get him back to land because he was just losing it. So
describe that. That's kind of interesting. What was that about?
He was just very hostile. Like he was just like really like mad. Like they were just trying to, like the parents on that boat were trying to get him out.
I'm curious if the police have, I know they said they're still investigating. Did any investigators ever speak to you about what you saw that day?
No, sir.
Really? Okay. Cops have not talked to you yet.
No, sir.
That's odd.
I don't see why the cops would have to talk to me. I mean, obviously, like, you know, like I had said my plea, like, because whenever I had talked to the people at Sunherd, it was whenever, you know, the body was discovered and the autopsy people and all those people were there.
Well, I'll tell you why I'm surprised. Because you knew Nolan well, and you knew that he was friends with these guys who were the last ones to be around him before his body was found. And
I would think they would at least want to know, hey, just the things we're asking.
Right.
You know, did you ever hear of any of this stuff? It's odd to me.
Just to gather information.
Yeah,
as
that
part
the
of their
cops wouldn't have
investigation.
contacted you. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like, I'm completely fine with that. Like I said, I have nothing to hide. Like, that's my boy, and I want him to find justice. Like that, like this whole case thing, like whatever, like this whole situation, and none of this adds up to me. So like, it's really hard, like, for like people to just like keep on saying things when like none of it adds up, honestly.
So one of the things that I'm sure, Javon, you've seen has been a big part of this story, people making the point that, at least in the photos that we initially saw, that Nolan was the only African-American kid who was out there, at least on that boat. Do you think, having been there on the island with this large group of people, that race plays a factor in whatever happened here?
Again, I don't want to answer that question. I wouldn't say like, yeah, I wouldn't want to answer that question. I mean, obviously we go to Ocean Springs, we're going to have white friends. So like, that's, I mean, I guess it's pretty normal down here, but.
Yeah, I mean, and I hear you. If that's, I guess you're saying that it's normal, it's not out of place to be a black teen in that area and that you have white friends, right? That's not uncommon is what you're saying.
I'm sure every black person has white friends somewhere, you know? So I wouldn't say that it's a whole race thing, but it's just like, obviously they're going to paint it as that because none of this adds up.
There was something unique when he said the body. It's his best friend. Okay, let me get to the next part. Almost wrapping up. All right, so a few more things just to round up. So we also have, we talked about two very prominent figures stepping up to support Nolan's family, Tyler Perry, Colin Kaepernick. TMZ report says Tyler Perry and Colin Kaepernick are paying for Nolan's funeral and for the independent autopsy. Kaepernick has an autopsy initiative that funds independent autopsies for families who want a second opinion. In Nolan's case, he and Tyler Perry are making sure the family can both lay him to rest and have a separate forensic expert examine the body without worrying about the cost. Their involvement underscores the idea that the independent autopsy and deeper investigation are not just symbolic, but they're being actively funded and pursued. So here's the theory. So guys, I think, as I said, it fits well where after he spoke to her, he wanted to go back to the boat and something happened in between there. That's where the accident happened, in my opinion. So that will combine two stories. Oh, he was with the girl. He was going back. Well, that's because he never made it back to the boat. And as I said, I think Crump messed up with the text. He said it was text, but I think it was Snapchat, and makes sense why they didn't do any videos because there was no connection. So again, with all this on the table, you can walk through the main theories people are discussing, making clear these are theories, not conclusions. But I do want to give you the 5 theories that are being discussed. I gave you what mine is, what I believe, but so theory 1 is accidental drowning, no foul play. Nolan is separated from his phone and friends on a remote island. He enters the water at some point, encounters currents or fatigue, and drowns. The focus on environmental conditions and isolation, and the death is seen as a tragic accident. Then you have the altercation and negligence. That's a theory. There's a confrontation involving his group, as suggested by the viral video and witness accounts, which I said the photographer said that may not even be him, or there was no altercation. After that tension, the boat leaves without ensuring Nolan's safety. Nolan, barefoot, phoneless, and alone on a remote island, later ends up in the water and drowns. The choices of others leaving him in that state are seen as negligent, even if no one physically attacked him. And the photographer clarification that Nolan isn't shown fighting matters. The environment is tense, but he may not have been the aggressor. So again, all that would have done is if I got in an argument with him, with the people on the boat, I decide not to go on the boat, or they leave me. I didn't kill him. I just, hey, you beat an ass and we left. But I don't think that's the case. I really do think it's in between both narratives from Katie and from the friends. So Katie reported account has him walking towards the boat. The friend and Judge Cole's story has him choosing to stay. The boat leaves without him with his phone on board. People who hold this theory question whether Nolan wanted to leave and was prevented, whether he chose to stay. Narrative shifts blame and whether he was deliberately left behind in dangerous situations. But people are not talking about in between. As I mentioned, just repeating it. I want to be with the girl. I tell my friends I want to be with the girl. Then I tell the girl, ooh, I got to get back because I may not be able to get back. I got a lot of things going on. Can't be blinded by a girl right now. And then he just never makes it back to the boat. So that means the friends believe he was still with the girl. She believes he went off. And unfortunately, that's when it could have happened. Then you got the digital cleanup after the fact. We have to put it out there, even though I don't think that's the case. I don't think it was text messages. I think it was Snapchats. And I think this lawyer got that confused. And that matters because you're going to find that there's no internet service out there, from what I'm being told. Nolan's phone stays at the boat under others' controls before his parents track it down and recover it. Where did they recover it? The family and Crump say message history appears incomplete and texts may have been deleted. It looks like it's Snapchat because the mother focused on Snapchat. She never said text. His mother finds 2 Snapchat accounts showing absolutely nothing when she expected content. Now it's no longer. I wonder if he just made it into deleted text. Well, he usually puts something on chat and he didn't. It's crazy. It looks like it's empty. Looks like someone deleted it. They deleted it, and he runs with that narrative. That's what they sometimes do. They run with that narrative. Some friends have reportedly changed or locked down social media profiles, most likely because they're being attacked, to be honest with you. And that's from social media. I'm getting attacked from doing these videos. And under this theory, whatever happened physically was followed by a cleanup of the digital trail, removing messages, snaps, and stories. And then you have the theory, racial dynamic and systemic minimization. So you have Nolan's black teen in a friends group that appears mostly white in key photos. Mississippi has a long history of racial injustice and under investigation of black deaths. The initial no evidence of foul play language, the crop photo controversy, and the slow releases of full details feel familiar to many black viewers. Crump and Sharpton framed the case in that context. Javon, not a whole race thing. Javon says not a whole race thing. Comment shows that even close friends differ on how prominently race should be foregrounded. So right now, let me read this off and we're done. Right now, the case of Nolan Xavier Wells sits between official reports and the deeper questions his parents are demanding answers to. Now, once I get the autopsy results, I'm going to see where it goes, and then I'll start creating my narrative. Again, that's for the toxicology. If there's an independent autopsy, I'm going to go ahead and also do a show on that. Now, granted, they said that it's running late, and that's why they haven't released it just yet. Or maybe that's the case. It's probably running late, or they're getting findings that they don't agree with, and they're holding off. I've seen that happen too. Not saying that's the case, but I've seen that happen. And now they're no longer transparent with the independent autopsy because it's not giving them a narrative that they wanted. I even think Sharpton has some doubts on this one. So, and I met Sharpton. I've actually got along with Sharpton. I was on his show back in the day. If you look up Anthony Ganji, Reverend Al Sharpton, you'll see my interview with him. So, okay, we know he went to Horn Island with friends. We know he was with Kate on the north and the north end, and that according to reported statements, they parted ways and he walked away reportedly towards the boat. We know his friends and Judge Ashley Cole say he chose to stay. We know there's a viral video of a confrontation, witnesses describing a boat leaving quickly, and a photographer now saying Nolan is not shown fighting in that clip. We know his phone was left on the boat, later tracked down and recovered by his parents, and that they say message history appears incomplete and 2 Snapchat accounts show absolutely nothing at a time when they expected content. We know a state autopsy calls it drowning, and an independent autopsy funded by Tyler Perry and Colin Kaepernick is underway, or Tyler Perry's doing the funeral. We know his parents have taken their call on for a deeper investigation into the final hours of Nolan on Horn Island. They talked about that in Good Morning America, and in the conference at Harlem, they were standing with Ben Crump and Al Sharpton. And we know his best friend Javon Williams has said he doesn't want this turned into a whole race thing, even as many see race and history as part of the story. So, guys, if you like the content, buy me a cup of coffee. Link that's in the description while top of the YouTube channel. But the story is unfolding, and I'm getting some hate on my messages. But, guys, I mean, social media goes wild, and come on, let's just wait a little bit. But the story is making it clearer. So I'm curious what you guys think. I try to spell some alternatives, but I know people won't believe them because they're already set in their ways. But I think I'm correct here. Or it's definitely a possibility. You know, so if it's a possibility, why is it not being entertained a little bit more? Because it's not a sensationalized possibility. All right, guys, stay safe.